Are you ready to see what can be the most powerful card in all of Magic? It's the Forest, and that's with Titania, Nature's Force. Let's get into it. Today you'll learn why to fear the Forest. Because of Titania, Nature's Force. Let's go. Titania, Nature's Force is a new legendary elemental from the Brothers War. She's going to allow you to play Forest from your graveyard. Whenever a Forest ETBs, you're going to get a 5/3 green elemental creature token. Whenever an elemental we control dies, you get to mill 3 cards. This deck's going to be all about the Forest and the graveyard, so let's fill that graveyard up. We've got some traditional green ramp that's going to get Forest into play and fill our graveyard. We've got Harrow, Whirling Regrowth, and Spring Bloom Trude. They all allow us to sacrifice a land to put 2 into play. Scape Shift will let us sacrifice all of our lands and replace them with that many lands, giving us a ton of elementals and a full graveyard of Forest. That way we can win out of nowhere. Altar of Dementia will let us sacrifice our elemental creature tokens to mill 5 cards at a time. That way we'll have a ton of options and a ton of lands we can play out of the bin. Let's really get our graveyard strategy going with a couple of dredge cards. First up, Golgari Grave Troll. This troll skeleton has dredge 6, which is going to really fill up the bin, and it's a regenerating huge beater. Light from the Loam will bring back all the forests that we've milled and put them into play, and also has dredge 3. Then we have some great artifact mill options. Some are weaker than others. One of the strongest is Mesmeric Orb. Whenever a permanent becomes untapped, we're going to mill a card. Millstone will mill 2, and Grindstone will keep repeating the process if we hit the same color. Greater Good's a great card advantage engine, but those cards we discard are going straight into the bin to help fuel our graveyard strategy and let us win. Not to mention those elementals will let us draw 5 cards. The other part of our strategy is getting Forest into play to generate huge bodies. Let's do it. First up is Azusa, Lost but Seeking. This legendary human monk will let us play 2 additional lands on each of our turns. So that means 3 elementals per turn, since we'll have plenty of Forest in hand and in graveyard. Oracle of Moldiah will let us play an additional land each turn and lets us rip those Forest off the top, so we can dig deeper into our deck in case we run out of Forest in hand or in graveyard. Then we've got the land-loving dinosaur, Wayward Swordtooth. It's going to allow you to play an additional land on each of your turns, and the Ascend feature really doesn't matter because it's just a vanilla 5/5. Then we've got Gaia's Touch. This is an enchantment. It's going to allow us to play an additional land during each of our turns if it's a forest, and you can also sacrifice it to add 2 green to your mana pool for a little bit of additional ramp. Exploration's a simple enchantment for 1 green that's going to allow us to play an additional land on each of our turns. So we've got all these effects in play. We'll be dropping a ton of forest. Burgeoning is an enchantment that's going to allow us to play a land every time an opponent plays a land. So if we've got a full grip of forest, we can fill up the board quick with our basic lands. Courser of Crewfix is an enchantment creature centaur. It lets us play with the top of our library revealed and play lands off the top and gives us a little bit of incidental life gain. Not a bad card, but not as good as Oracle of Moldiah. Ramanap Excavator is a Naga Cleric, a snake person, that lets us play lands from our graveyard. Since we'll have a ton of lands in there, might as well have some additional effects. Ancient Green Warden performs double duty in this deck. First, it lets us play lands from our graveyard, and if a land enters the battlefield, it's going to trigger Titania twice to make 2 elementals per forest. Pretty powerful. Then, of course, you can run whatever lands matters, green spells you enjoy like Kotama's Reach, Summer Bloom, or what else. The world is your playground, so have a good time. But how are we supposed to play more forest and gain a ton of advantage without a full grip? Let me show you. Elemental Bond is an all-star in this deck. Whenever a creature with power 3 or greater ETBs, draw a card. Guess what? Titania's tokens have 5 power, so that's a card per forest. Garruk's Uprising is going to do a similar thing with a creature power 4 or greater. Draw a card, and also gives your creatures trample, and when it ETBs, you draw a card if you already have an elemental token in play. Garruk's Pack Leader is a similar effect, but on a creature. Whenever another creature with power 3 or greater ETBs, draw a card, but it's a little more vulnerable to removal. Cultivator Colossus is going to allow us to put lands into play when it ETBs and draw a card for each land we put in, so we can keep this loop going, get a ton of cards, and a ton of lands. Pretty awesome. Return of the Wildspeaker performs double duty in this deck. For 1, we're going to draw a ton of cards if we choose the first mode. Second mode, we can overrun our opponents with our token army and win out of nowhere. Rishkar's Expertise provides a similar effect to Return of the Wildspeaker. However, we can cast a spell for free after playing this card. So cards and free spells. Can't complain. The great thing about Titania, she's going to allow us to go super wide with her tokens, but we have some other ways to do it too. Greensleeves is our backup commander. It's got protection from planeswalkers and from wizards. It's going to be as powerful as our land count, and whenever a land ETBs, we create a 3/3 Badger. So Badgers and Elementals, match made in heaven. Then, of course, we've got Avenger of Zendikar in here. This guy's a classic. He's a little weak compared to how he used to be. He's going to make a ton of tokens when he enters, and every time we play a land, he's going to pump them. If you love exponential insects, this is the card for you. Scoot Swarm. You play this, play some lands, you got 6 or more, you're going to make copies of Scoot Swarm, and it keeps growing the number of insects you have. Rampaging Balos is going to give us a 4/4 green beast every time I land ETBs, so might as well get a ton of different token varieties to win the game and scare your opponent senseless with our wide board. Doubling Season is a little pricey, but you have it, put it in this deck. It's going to let us create double tokens. The counter thing doesn't really matter that much, but man, we're going to have a ton of tokens. Parallel Evolution is a sorcery that's going to double the number of tokens we have in play, and you can flash it back from the bin. This card is pretty unique, and I guarantee you've never seen it before. Awaken the Woods is the perfect card for this deck. It's from the Brothers War as well. It's going to let us create a ton of Dryad Arbors, and that triggers our Forest synergies, our token synergies, and our ability to win synergy. Let's get it. Now it's time for our opponents to feel the force of nature. Let's really multiply our damage our tokens will put out. Of course, I've got to mention Craterhoof Behemoth. This card just wins games. That's about it. I won't go too deep into it. You know what it does. Endray's Forerunners is the budget Craterhoof Behemoth. It's going to give +2/+2 Vigilance and Trample to all of our creatures, and it's hasty when it comes down for that big swing. Unnatural Growth will just double the power and toughness of all of our creatures as they go into combat. So that's going to make our elementals hit for 10, and just 4 of them connecting will win us the game and knock out our opponents. Concordant Crossroads is an awesome world enchantment. It's going to give all creatures haste. So what you want to do is when you have a massive token creation turn, slam this down, swing in for the win out of nowhere, and admire the shocked look on your opponent's faces. Today, I hope you learned to fear the forest with Titania, Nature's Force. This deck is going to be pretty powerful for a mono green deck, and your opponents are going to be overwhelmed with value. So let me know how you would build this deck in the comments below, what cards you would add, which cards you would take out, and thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.